The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland, which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine. Skyrocketing gas prices.
A new biofuel facility opens in Surrey.
And TransLink gets approval on their 10-year vision plan.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Ben Carney.
And I'm Corey Sidaway. The City of Surrey has opened its first natural gas facility in Canada. It will collect organic waste used to power some city vehicles, but as our reporter Dennis Arellano found out, it might not smell so nice.
Surrey is getting into a stinky situation to reduce their carbon footprint. Surrey Mayor Linda Hepner opened the doors to a new facility that now powers up the city's waste collection vehicles and service vehicles with natural gas instead of diesel. This $68 million facility is the first of its kind in Canada.
But it also has the distinction of being the first fully integrated closed-loop organic waste management system.
What is a closed-loop system? It's where garbage trucks come and collect organic waste like yard clippings and vegetables to process it into natural gas for vehicles and reuse the leftover waste as compost. Garbage trucks will literally collect their own fuel source at the side of the road. But it might not be smooth sailings for the new facility.
Located where it is in a municipality is one of odor control. This could be where there's real problems with surroundings, either other companies and industry, it's right now in the industrial park, or even if there are drastic issues, than with residents.
Our goal is to not impact the property owner next door. So the property owner next door should not be smelling anything that's happening in this facility.
1/3 of the cost for the facility went towards odor control to create negative air pressure that keeps the smell in the facility.
The system works so well that when you stand right outside the building envelope, you can't smell anything in the facility.
The facility currently collects 65,000 tons of organic waste annually. This will remove almost 50,000 tons of greenhouse emissions, which could make Surrey the first city in Canada to be carbon emission free. Dennis Arellano in Surrey for BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Dennis Arellano joins us live. Dennis, 49,000 tons, that sounds like a lot. Can you give us an idea of what that looks like?
Well, it's the equivalent of removing over 10,000 cars off the road every year. Surrey could completely eliminate their carbon footprint. Now, Mayor Hepner said that the facility currently collects an average of 65,000 tons every year of organic waste, but it has the capacity to collect 115,000. So you can just imagine how much greenhouse emissions it will remove once it collects that amount by 2043.
So Dennis, is this a financially sound idea?
Yes, it is. Now, the project costed an average of $68 million to build, but all of it was donated. 25% came from the Government of Canada and 75% came from Renewy, a UK waste management company. And what's more, in 2017, the solid waste levy was $287, and it remains at $287 today. Now, Surrey does plan to use 100% of the renewable gas that is collected at the facility, but any unused gas, they will sell it back to FortisBC as a revenue back to the city. Mayor Hepner says this is the first agreement of its kind in BC. Back to you.
The Vancouver Mayor's Council, along with the province of BC, have approved the biggest investment in transit in Metro Vancouver's history. The funding is phase 2 of a 10-year transit plan. The new provincial government has promised to fund 40% of the plan, but TransLink says significant regional contributions will be required. This new phase will lead to the construction of the Surrey light rail system, the Broadway extension, and an upgrade on the existing Expo Millennium lines. According to the city, the funding will hope to address long lines and overcrowding in popular transit areas around Metro Vancouver. The Vancouver Mayor's Council has proposed a number of tax and price increases to cover these improvements, including a 2% increase to all transit fares, a 15-cent per hour increase on hourly parking rates, and an increase in property tax that Translink says may seem small, but will lead to positive changes in public transportation.
The property tax, it's a slight increase of, I think, roughly about 46 cents a month is what we would see on the property tax increase. So a slight increase, but a relevant increase, because again, we would see these mega projects come to fruition, the Surrey LRT and the Broadway extension.
The Government of Canada has final approval of the plan. Details on that agreement are expected in the near future. The NDP is changing its one-size-fits-all approach to school funding. Currently, schools are funded based on the number of applicants they have, but the NDP wants to change this to a needs-based model. This will stop budget cuts to schools with less applicants.
It's official. Metro Vancouver has set a new record high for gas prices. Dan McTeague with the online tech company Gas Buddy announced Wednesday morning that prices of gas in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland will break records at $1.55.9 per litre for the rest of the week. He put his 2 cents in, tweeting that the solution is to build the Trans Mountain pipeline, which he says would bring cheaper gas from Edmonton.
But there's a bunch of factors at work here. The soaring prices are due to a high demand and chronically low supply.
More in depth, a local refinery and a Washington, Oregon pipeline have both been shut down for maintenance, which is adding to rising costs alongside our lowering Canadian dollar.
Analysts are warning that prices will only get higher. McTeague predicts that between April and September of this year, BC's gas prices will hover at around $1.60 per litre.
Putting this into context with the rest of the country, right now BC is sitting as the most expensive province for gas in Canada. Metro Vancouver is paying around 40 cents over the Canadian average and almost $1 more than our neighbours to the south.
We asked students around the BCIT campus to see what they thought about all of this. Take a look.
Yeah, I'm definitely driving a lot less.
Gas price is so expensive that it's almost unaffordable for students.
I go to the States a lot to get gas if I do need to fill up, and I only drive when I absolutely need to.
Definitely driving a lot less. It takes only have a 50-liter gas tank, and it takes $70-$60, which is insane now.
But we want to know what you think. Would you stop driving your car and take public transit? Find us on Twitter at BCIT News or Facebook. Coming up, a local rapper sells tickets to his own show to pay back promoters.
And British Columbians are questioning how social media is affecting hiking.
Journalism's changed a lot in the last 20 years, and BCIT's been at the forefront of that evolution.
Those are your news updates for Evolution 1079 News.
Now it seems like the industry is changing by the minute, so now, more than ever, we're taught how to adapt.
The federal government unveiled a new immigration plan that would
When I first started at BCIT, there was only one thing that I really wanted to do in journalism, and this program really opened my eyes to all the avenues of employment. And now I feel really confident that I have the skills to get hired.
From day one, you're out there chasing down stories.
You aren't just sitting in a classroom reading about journalism, you are a journalist.
BCIT Newsroom. I look back at the work I was doing even 3 months ago, and it's just amazing to see how far you can come in such a little bit of time. This program really teaches you skills and techniques to learn how to better communicate.
Jamie Dodd in Vancouver.
In New Westminster.
In Burnaby.
For BCIT Magazine.
Three Burnaby RCMP are injured after a Kinder Morgan protest on Monday. One officer was allegedly kicked in the head by a protester on Burnaby Mountain. The protests are expected to continue throughout the week.
Spring has officially sprung, and with warm weather melting alpine snow, BC's hiking trails will be open to more foot traffic. My co-anchor Corey has more on how social media is affecting BC's hiking trails.
Lace up, it's officially hiking season in BC. But for some hikers, what was once a practice of solitude now feels like a battle for the best Instagram.
The bad thing is that it's overcrowding places, and then you have people trying to get the perfect shot rather than just experiencing nature on its own.
There's lots of places that when I first came here I went to that there was nobody there ever, and then now can't even get a spot to sit down anymore. So
Some picturesque hotspots in BC are facing immense strain after they gain notoriety on social media.
I just want to record how far this goes and send it to the Ministry of Transportation.
Joffrey Lakes has become the lightning rod for this conversation. The park has experienced consistent and severe overcrowding since 2016. And it's not the only park affected. Keyhole Hot Springs Trail has been closed indefinitely because of increased conflict with bears due to garbage left at the sites. Some in the outdoor community say hikers should think twice about posting that perfect picture to Instagram.
It's completely a gong show. Social media is one of the key instruments that is causing the demise of the sanctity of the backcountry. We're seeing an incredible influx of people. It's become a real problem. On any given long weekend, every access point to the backcountry is completely stuffed. First of all, people need to understand the consequences of what they're doing by sending that information out into the ether. The second thing is we need a broader place to play.
The reality is 6 in 10 BC residents use a provincial park each year, and more people are headed outside. BC Parks Day use is up almost 22% from 2010 to 2015. As the third largest park system in North America, space isn't the issue. The Federation of BC Mountain Clubs says more infrastructure and access points need to be created by the province. Until then, while most British Columbians acknowledge the problems surrounding overcrowding, most are just happy to see people enjoying BC's backyard.
It sort of encourages people that are not outdoorsy to be outdoorsy, and I guess if they aren't, but they're doing it for social media, maybe they'll find a passion to go hiking on its own, even if it's through getting that perfect Instagram shot.
Either way, you have to hike to a lot of these places to get to the picture, so everybody's hiking in the end. So.
Corey Sidaway in West Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
That was a great story.
Thank you.
When you were chatting with people, did you get a sense that any of this would be included in the provincial budget?
So Barry from the Federation of BC Alpine Clubs said that there's nothing currently in the current provincial budget, but the NDP has been more receptive to the issue.
Well, that sounds promising. What role does Tourism BC play in all of this?
A big role. I mean, Tourism Vancouver, I did speak to Darren. He was the head of their digital marketing, and he said they send people basically not to the backcountry, but to places that can handle more capacity. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I think if you were to go through our social media channels, I think you'd have a hard time finding any images of sort of hidden backcountry kind of things, because we recognize that your average tourist to Vancouver isn't hitting those places. We're conscious about sort of who we're inviting and when we're inviting them.
I feel like a large part of this conversation is about travel bloggers and social media stars with huge followings.
Yeah, absolutely. So social media bloggers in the Lower Mainland are saying that they're just not geotagging locations anymore on their posts. Take a listen to Jenna Anderson with West Digest.
We're always quite conflicted depending on where it is. I kind of go on the golden rule, like if it's easy access, if there's like a highway by it, if it's a provincial park, if it's something that's like clearly on a map that everyone goes to it because it's easy to get to, that's totally cool to tag. If it's something that we know is untouched or maybe a bit more dangerous to get to, and we know that it's kind of untapped, like I usually won't put that out.
Well, I think that'll make me think a little differently before I go on my next hike. In Vancouver, aspiring rappers often have to buy tickets to their own shows to get established. Mac Britton has the story.
Most rap artists just starting out find it's a hard scene to break into. Oftentimes, artists enlist the help of professional promoters, and that often ends in financial losses.
I got a rabbit up my sleeve for y'all who haven't seen tricks. Bars from Mars for $1, that doesn't mean Twix.
Local rap artist Noah Cedarleaf Pavie consulted Where It's At Entertainment to try and make headway. He says they would sell his group 50 tickets to their own show, and Pavie would be on the hook to resell those tickets.
Most of the time, we'd end up being in debt, selling an average of 8 to 10 tickets to the closest, most loyal friends who would come to our shows no matter what. And then we'd be stuck, with like 40 leftover tickets that we just give back to the company and be like, hey, and they wouldn't give us our money back, so we'd just be left like that. My whole life I fit this frame up as the middleest.
Pavie has since moved on from Where It's At Entertainment, but they defend this tactic of promoting new artists.
If an artist is starting off to build their fan base, they sell tickets, we give them to them, and then they make a certain dollar amount or percentage of the sales that they bring in, and then the other part goes to us.
Pavie and his group now perform without the help of promoters. He says one thing changed that.
We believe we make better music now. Between learning about that, we've now put our music on Spotify, Apple Music, all streaming services. We've just been learning a lot. Learning, me about rapping, them about producing, all of us about putting on a show. And because we've been learning so much, I think now we're just confident enough to just really hit up someone who is a manager of a club, or, you know, someone who's a big enough dog in the city and be like, hey, we are good enough for you now on our own.
Pavi is convinced the Vancouver rap scene is on the verge of blowing up. Mac Britton in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
We're joined by our reporter Mac Britton now. Mac, is there a term for this tactic that music promoters use?
Yes, Ben, there is. It's called the pay-to-play arrangement. Music promoters have been doing this for a while now. It's oftentimes an unwritten agreement where the musician is stuck with the cost of the tickets that were given to them. Ben?
And you said that Pavi no longer uses promoters. Has he been successful with this?
Since Pavi and his crew have gone without promoters, they performed at popular Vancouver bars like the Red Room and MIA. Pavi told me that the freedom to choose where they perform and who they perform with has gone a long way to add to their appeal as musicians.
Coming up, families take to the ice for people with Down syndrome.
And we talked to the play-by-play announcer of the Vancouver Giants about their recent success.
Standby graphics, ready, camera one.
If you want to experience the fast-paced world of news,
today on BCIT Magazine, striking,
make magic on a movie set,
frame,
and action, or bring your creative ideas to life, BCIT's hands-on training will get you started. BCIT Television and Video Production. Your possibilities start here.
A defining moment for me was when I finished my first internship and got lots of really great feedback from industry professionals.
I would have never imagined I'd be walking into the floors of TSN and thinking, I'm not a student anymore, I'm here to work.
I will be starting a job with an investigative news program in Toronto, and I'm really excited to see that grow into what will become, hopefully, my dream job.
BCIT Broadcast and Online Journalism, putting you to work.
Top of Metro Tower 2 at Metrotown.
You're listening to CFML, BCIT's radio station at the Burnaby campus.
This is Evolution 107.9 News now.
Oh no, I didn't write a script.
Good afternoon, I'm Lloyd Nellis, and this is your Major News to Noon. The annual Easter Fair will run from March 22nd to April 2nd at the Stanley Park Railway. Kids can enjoy face painting, hunting for eggs, and meet the Easter Bunny. We are now joined live by our reporter in the field, Ryan Lehall.
Well, Lloyd, the world's most elite video gamers will be in downtown Vancouver this summer as the Vancouver hosts the International Dota 2 tournament on August 20th through the 23rd. But tickets go on sale this Friday. Back to you.
Thanks, Ryan. And lastly, the Surrey Carnival will be making its return on March 29th through April 2nd. They're inviting the public to come play games, ride rides, and try traditional fair food. And in weather, I think it's cloudy. This has been your Major News to Noon. I'm Lloyd Nellis, and you're listening to Evolution 107.9.
Dude, you still have 9 minutes left.
What?
A local charity took to the ice to empower people with Down syndrome through sport. My co-anchor Ben has more.
This is no ordinary day at the Burnaby 8 ice rinks. It's a chance for people with Down syndrome to get together for a skate, including people like Charles.
Yes, I'm excited, yes.
Glenn Hughes, an event organizer, says like most participants, Down syndrome has affected him personally.
Well, I have a daughter with Down syndrome myself, so besides working for the organization, obviously it's a cause that's near and dear to my heart, and just excited to do whatever we can to let people know about the potential of individuals with Down syndrome.
Darcy Rota, a former Vancouver Canuck, was also there. He said it's a great opportunity for him to get back out on the ice.
I've met some new people here for the first year. Of course, people have been here for a number of years like I have, see a lot of old familiar faces. But it's just a special day for family and the skate and the dinner upstairs after. And, you know, it's just a very warm afternoon.
Roto wasn't the most popular person at the rink though. That honor went to Canucks mascot Finn. As for Charles, he's just happy to be at the party.
Sales and very good food and very nice people.
Organizers of the event say they hope it will continue for many years to come. Ben Carney in Burnaby with BCIT Magazine. The Vancouver Giants have qualified for the postseason for the first time in 4 years. Our producer Ryan Lehall caught up with the voice of the WHL franchise, Dan O'Connor, to find out more about a season of improvements and what fans can expect from playoff hockey.
Thanks, guys. Joining us now is Vancouver Giants play-by-play broadcaster Dan O'Connor. Thanks for joining us today, Dan.
Anytime.
The Giants made the playoffs for the first time in 4 seasons. They finished last in the BC division in each of those 4 seasons. I know that this wasn't the way you wanted to end out the season with an 8-1 loss, but what's been the difference for the season?
Well, I think a lot of differences. I think first off, there's a maturity with this group. The fact that, there were a lot of 16, 17-year-olds on the team last season that have kind of stuck around and are now in their 18-year-old season, a year older, a little wiser, a little more familiar, I guess, with the goings-on of the Western Hockey League. And there's no substitute for experience. There's really no substitute for getting your licks in, getting a bit battle-tested, and learning how to play and learning how to win, and just even learning how to manage the rigors of a Western Hockey League season. So I would say experience has been huge, and I think that a lot of the credit as well has to go to the players for the hard work that they've put in over the summer, and then, of course, over the course of the season to make sure that they're ready, that they're not getting too high, not getting too low. Coaches have done a really good job of kind of keeping them focused, kind of keeping them focused on the task at hand and not really getting too far ahead of themselves. So a lot of progress and a lot of good things for the season for the Vancouver Giants, and a big reason why they're going to the playoffs.
And a couple of big years for 2 big-name players for the Giants. Ty Ronning in his 61-goal season. Captain Tyler Benson also put up a career high in points. What have those 2 players meant to this team this year?
Well, they're the co-MVPs. And anytime you're named a most valuable player of a team, you've got to be doing something right. And that means, by and large, that they are just so consistent and have been so consistent over the course of a season. And, in the case of Ty Ronning, here's a player that was coming into the season and was looking to get a contract. And, he jokingly said, I hope I can get 40 this year. Well, he got 21 more than he was anticipating, and it got him an NHL contract. But his consistency, the way he competes, the way he just has a knack for scoring timely goals for this team, it's been so much fun to watch. And then for Tyler Benson, he's healthy, and he's been healthy for a whole year, and that's been huge for him because injuries have really taken their toll on him over the course of his WHL career. But for him to, have led the team the way that he has, he's scored a lot of timely goals, big overtime goals for Tyler Benson. So he's been everything that you could possibly have imagined or asked for from your captain, and to have those 2 leading the charge, it's been easy for the other guys to follow.
And finally, first-round opponents, Victoria Royals. What can we expect from this tough first-round matchup?
It'll be a great series. Only 3 points separated the 2 teams in the standings over the course of the season. So there's a lot of familiarity. No secrets, really, between the 2 teams. They faced each other 10 times in the regular season. A lot of those games were decided by a single goal in overtime or a shootout. So if you're the Vancouver Giants, you're going to want to stay disciplined. You don't want to give guys like Matthew Phillips, Tyler Soy, Tanner Kaspick, Dante Hanoun, Noah Gregor, the list goes on. You just don't want to give those top offensive guys a lot of extra room on the ice. Goaltending is going to be a huge matchup between, Griffin Outhouse and David Tendick for the Giants. And you know what? Playoffs, it's usually about your role players. Usually it's about your trenches, your bench, what guys are going to step up that maybe weren't quite as prolific during the regular season, but who's going to be that third-line guy that's going to get you that key goal, or that defenseman that's going to make that key block. It's all about the little things in playoffs, and I can't wait for the series.
Well, it's been a tough few years for the Giants, but Vancouver hockey fans are glad to see more playoff junior hockey. Thanks for joining us today, Dan.
My pleasure.
Games 3 and 4 go at the Langley Event Center March 27th and 29th. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Ryan. That's all for the show today. Thanks for watching BCIT Magazine. I'm Corey Sidaway.
And I'm Ben Carney. We'll leave you with a seaside view from White Cliff Park.
If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitbroadcastnews.ca.